All right, we are recording. Me.
Going through all that stuff, man. I tell you, I went through a cup of coffee.
I,
I don't even,
I,
I don't even have a cup of coffee now.
I did too. And you were like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna restart the computer. I'm like, well, I have to pee. Super fun.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, here we go. Ready?
By the way, pike push-ups are hard. I'll mention that later.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. What is up, health enthusiasts? It's Coach Lambie here, your guide to strength, health, and all things nutrition. I am joined by my co-host, Dwayne Ulrich, aka Poppy Dwirl.
Puppy
Today,
Duero.
Today, we are going to be talking about where to get started if you have decided to start working out. All right, Dwayne, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I think it's just fair to tell everybody that we experienced the technology. Uh, we had technology warfare a minute ago, and I thought I was about to take a bat to my computer, and yeah, no, really, it was dicey, man. It was dicey there for a little bit. It just wasn't functioning. But
It's,
we wrangled it.
yeah,
Yeah, we wrangled it, and we're on a go now. But yeah, doing good, man, doing good.
every day there's something that we have to deal with
I
on
know, right?
technology. It's
I
getting
know,
to be one of those
right?
things. So,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah,
hey, what do you think of the
go
grand
ahead.
experiment, bro? What do you think?
I think we've already been through this, and if you haven't learned your lesson, I don't. I'm doing my best to
Be
refrain
supportive.
from yeah, to be supportive and refrain from turning my entire social media into
Oh my
a
God.
do not comply campaign. Um, yeah.
Okay, well, I got to say this. I'm only doing it because my wife loves it. She goes,
Mm.
"Ooh, baby, baby." I'm like, "I hate that. I hate it. It's really blonde."
All right. So let's talk about where someone might get started if they've decided that they're going to enter into this journey of getting fit and getting healthy. And we're just going to talk about exercise today. We're going to keep it light, and we're not going to be going through a whole bunch of research. We're just going to talk about some things that people might enjoy doing and why I certainly advocate for strength as your primary modality. But yeah, so let's just talk about those things. So I saw something come up earlier this morning, and I haven't really had a chance to read it, but it came up in JAMA, uh, the Journal of American Journal. What is it? The Medical Association. Anywho, so it was a one of the most viewed papers in JAMA, and it had to do with exercise and blood pressure and what forms of exercise reduced blood pressure the most. You want to take a guess?
Strength training,
No. Iso
powerlifting.
isometric exercises.
Are you kidding me?
No. Yeah. So
Seriously, I've taken
yeah.
this. I've taken this journey with you, and you've left that out, man. I feel
Well,
cheated.
so it just came out. It just came out. It's one of the most recent or one of the most popular things in JAMA. But it just came out, and so strength training does reduce blood pressure. Let's just
Yes, it
get that out
does.
from the start.
Yes, it
Uh,
does.
aerobic exercise reduces blood pressure more than just strength training, but combining the two reduces blood pressure more than either one alone. However, the isometric exercises reduced it, and it was significant, man. So I don't remember the exact numbers. We'd have to look into it, but I think like resistance training reduced systolic blood pressure by like 4 millimeters of mercury and diastolic by like 2.5. And then aerobic exercise was a little bit more. And then combined, it was a little bit more. It was like 6 millimeters of mercury. But the isometric training alone reduced systolic by like 8 millimeters of mercury and the diastolic by 6.5. And that's like if you had a constant blood pressure of like, let's say 135/85, which is like pre-hypertensive, which I think a lot of dudes are, just doing the isometric exercises would bring your blood pressure down to, kind of that normal range. That's crazy to think about.
I'm kind of blown away. I really am.
Yeah.
I really am blown away. Because
It's so
and I just like to tell our viewers that so when I started working out with Coach Lambie, um, so I was up on the upper end of like some of high blood pressure, and I'd never really seriously had worked out before. And so just working out, and we did predominantly strength training at first, just heavy weights, and then we began to work in more of an aerobic thing that we would do, bike, a lot of
the prowler.
yeah, pushing a prowler, sled, and things like that. So that would be a whole program. That wouldn't be just like an isolated exercise. And my blood pressure, I mean, I noticed my blood pressure went down from, and I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I'm on some medication as well, uh, blood pressure medication,
Mm.
legal blood pressure medication, and
Prescribed.
prescribed. And so, but I was still pushing like 135, 130 to
Mm.
135 was kind of regular for me. And yeah, I brought my numbers down into like 125 to 127 upper number, and then a similar drop for my lower number as well. So I know that the aerobic and the strength training was working for me. But to hear this
Mhm.
about isometrics, man, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard that word in a long time. I don't even know what's involved.
Yeah. So isometrics would be stuff like planks and glute
Which I'm
raises.
doing now, by the way.
Yeah. So, but it would be like not so much doing repetitions of them, but bringing it up and holding it there for maybe 20 or 30 seconds. So it's any form where you have to hold your body into I don't know, some kind of a pose. So wall sits, the planks would be kind of the easiest things to think about. But if we were to think about a specific modality or a certain name of, like I'm gonna go to um some some place where they're doing X said exercise that has a name, it would be yoga.
What?
Yeah, yeah, yoga would be
Oh,
I think probably the most familiar thing that
I'm
people
sorry.
could think about. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I swore I would never do yoga. I'm like,
Uh,
no, no.
yoga probably reduces blood pressure more than anything else. So
Did
that's
you see
interesting.
couple? Did you see couples retreat, man?
Yeah. Not movie yoga.
Okay, 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 okay. Regard me.
Yeah. That's just silliness. Yoga is really, really hard to do though.
I've seen some people do it, and and I will say this: hats off. It's like there's some, yeah, that stuff is
Yeah.
hard.
We like to joke. I mean, especially like you and me, like we like to lift. We like to lift heavy weights,
Yeah,
and you start slapping multiple plates on something and deadlifting and squatting, and you feel good. And we like to
yeah,
joke and be like,
I
"Well,
do.
yoga is what men call stretching," but it's really like it's really hard. It's not stretching. It's really hard.
Woo! I'm gonna take another swig of my Black Rifle Manly coffee.
Black Rifle.
Mm,
I like that. All right.
me
So let's
too.
see. Where could people start? So as a coach, my first thoughts would be do something that you're interested in, that you're going to enjoy and you're going to be able to do for the long term, right? And
Yeah,
you're going to have to incorporate multiple things.
yeah.
So Dwayne and I, we both like lifting weights. We both like strength training, but there also is the incorporation of aerobic work that Dwayne has mentioned. And so I know that as far as the blood pressure thing going, like when I started running when I was back in Houston, and I started running just before I got COVID, so that sucks. But yeah, my blood pressure came down as I added the running to my weightlifting. My blood pressure got down to like it was 117 over 80 or 117 over like 72. That's like little Oriental lady
Yeah,
type
that's
of blood
amazing.
pressure.
That's
Yeah, it was
amazing.
good. So I've
That's
been trying
amazing.
I've been trying to get the aerobic capacity back up here in Sholo, but man, let me tell you what, at 7,000 feet, it is much more difficult to do.
Stuck in air. Hey, I just want to say something real quick when you're talking about doing something that you're interested in.
Hmm.
So, in my history, in my lifetime, I've tried to do the aerobic thing just like kind of by itself. I mean, I tried to do biking, I tried to run, I tried to just walk fast, just different things like that. I did some exercise classes. I'm not going to tell you which one because you might change your opinion of me. Um, but there was anyway. So I did those things, but it just didn't. It was boring, or I didn't like it, or I had to drive too
Hmm.
far. It just wasn't anything that I could sustain. But when Coach Lambie and I got together and we started, he introduced me to powerlifting and just lifting heavy weights. Um, I mean, I progressed. I mean, I made a big progression, and I loved it. I loved the way I felt. I felt strong. We did our sets quickly, back to back, not too quickly, but no, never more than like 3 minutes between, for recovery. And so I felt great. I loved it, loved it, and it was easy for me to stay connected with that. Whereas just aerobics by itself, nah, it was I couldn't I couldn't be committed to it. I couldn't be
Hmm.
consistent. And so if you're going to do something you like and that you can be consistent in.
Hmm. Yeah. So people can do yeah, so find something that you're going to be interested in. If that's, some form of hit, you got Orange Theory, you got CrossFit, and CrossFit had a bad name there for a while, but I think that they've come around to some of the information that people were putting forward and saying, "Hey, this is it's not as effective as people are saying," and they've changed a lot of stuff. So I think that it's actually become a better modality of exercise for the average public. So you got that stuff, you got the boot camp stuff. All of that's real fun to do, and people seem to enjoy it. And man, if that interests you and it's something that you can do for a long time, by all means do that. So my personal recommendation is always going to be strength training, and that looks like powerlifting, but powerlifting is has the specific endpoint of competing at a meet, whereas strength training for the general population, we're not really so much concerned with hitting that one rep maximum on meet day, and being able to weigh in at a certain weight class and all that stuff. So the strength training, just building up a general base of strength, and like Dwayne was saying, feeling strong and being strong and having that ability to have the strength to do whatever you need to do in life, I think is more beneficial than being able to do 50 burpees or something like that. So burpees don't really translate a whole lot to everyday real life, but just having a general base of strength does. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. One of the things that I always wanted to throw out there, and you actually taught me this, and then I started doing like research and talking to other people and reading. But especially for your older clients or your older listeners. Um, uh, it, how do I want to put this? So strength training is one of the best things you can do uh, as you get older to fight. I know this sounds like an old person word, but to fight things like osteoporosis,
Hmm.
spinal issues, just bone strength, bone density. Do you want to fill in any of those gaps there?
Yeah, no, that's definitely some stuff that I was going to mention about this. So it's something that strength training has over any other type of modality, specifically deals with the diseases of aging, which is
Yep.
osteoporosis, and then also sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia, that's right.
Yeah, so osteoporosis is the loss of bone density over time as we age. Sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass as we age. And if you can actually Google this, where you look at an MRI of a cross section of a person's thigh. So if you were to take and cross section means if you were to take and chop somebody's leg off right in the middle of their thigh, and then I'm holding the calf here and the thigh here, and I'm looking at it right where I would see a muscle mass, and the bone in the middle. So when we look at MRIs of that stuff, as people age, the actual circumference, outer circumference of someone's thigh might stay the same, but the amount of a muscle mass over time gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
That's right.
And loss of muscle mass, loss of bone density are some of those things that really puts you at risk of disease and mortality as you age. And so, you can do other stuff. You want to do yoga, you want to do hot yoga, you want to do whatever spin class or something. All that stuff is great. It's certainly not going to hurt you, but you're definitely, I think, going to have to incorporate resistance training at least twice a week. It doesn't have to be
Yeah. Yeah.
the main staple, but
Yeah.
there really is no other way to increase bone density and also prevent sarcopenia than through resistance training. So, the only way to get bigger muscles is to lift weights, like that's just how it
That's right.
is.
There's no
Yep.
shortcut. No
There's no
shortcut.
shortcut. So let's talk about what people might do. So let's say somebody decided to join a gym and they're going to say, okay, I'm going to incorporate this resistance training. And they go in and you see all of the treadmills and ellipticals and bikes and everything that are over here. And then you have a bunch of machines. And then you have this space over here with the dumbbells and the mirrors, and you got some of the racks. What do you do when you walk in there? What do you start doing? So my advice to people is we want to choose exercises for resistance training that are going to use the most amount of muscle mass for the biggest return that we can for the least amount of time, right? So we don't want to be in the gym for hours and hours and hours, 6 days a week. A lot of people are busy. You want to get in, you want to get out. And so the biggest return on your investment is to incorporate what are called compound movements. And simply put, compound movements make the most joints bend. Okay. So if I think about if I was to do a bicep curl, right, and I'm just moving my fist up towards my shoulder, the only thing that's really moving is my elbow. And so the only muscles that are working, other muscles are going to be working, but the only muscle, for demonstration purposes here is going to be my bicep, right?
Right.
Versus if I was to do a squat,
Yep.
um, my
Yep.
hips are
Yep.
bending, my knees are
Knees,
bending, my
ankles.
ankles are bending. If I'm going to be holding a barbell, then my arms are back in this position. So all of my back musculature, your chest musculature, your shoulders, your arms, everything is involved in that process, and your entire skeleton, right, from where that bar sits on your back down is loaded with the weight. So you're getting an entire body workout from doing something like squats and deadlifts and overhead press. And so just using those three exercises, you can go into the gym, you can do a whole body workout twice a week, and you can get it done in like 30 or 40 minutes.
Yep.
In,
Yep.
out, and you're checking the boxes, you're hitting all the stuff, right?
Yep. Yep. Going into a gym can be like, and that's another thing is so I've had multiple gym memberships in the past, and some more expensive than others, and none of them lasted. So I would walk in, especially some of like the mega gyms. It's just you walk in and there's rows and rows and rows of treadmills and stair steppers, and then
Mm-hmm.
all the machines, and you just feel like, and then of course they're going to try to sell you something, and so some guy's gonna who he says he's a trainer, whatever, and so then they walk you through and they teach you about the circuit. Oh, we're going to do work the circuit. I'm like, what? And then you're going down this line of machines, and each one isolates like one joint or
Mm-hmm.
one motion. And so you could be there for a couple of hours, and I don't have that kind of time, and I
Mm-hmm.
get bored easily. So those aren't the things that. And so to me, that's something that I would, if I was going to talk to somebody and give anybody like my opinion as the general person ombudsman, it's like walk away from that kind of stuff and find the things that activate the most joints, like
Mm-hmm.
Coach Lambie's saying. I mean that has made a bigger difference in my life and in my physical health and mental health is doing those exercises. Now I've heard some people go, oh, so you do the sacred four or is it sacred three? I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember, but it's I'm like, well, yeah, but there's a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
you can do those things in a gym, and you can do some of those things with machines. And that's something I want to ask you, Coach Lamb, is like, so there's some machines that facilitate your squat as opposed to a free bar. How do you feel about the differences between those machines and free bar?
Yeah, I think that the machines are fine. So you're probably talking about the leg press or hack
Like,
squat machine or something like that.
yeah, leg press, and there's even a
Hmm.
squat machine where it's
Hmm.
it's rigged. I mean, you're not gonna.
Oh, that's the Smith machine. It
Yes, Smith
has the
machine.
barbell on the guides. Yeah, so
Yes,
I mean, yeah, you can use the Smith machine. There's a lot of bodybuilders out there that utilize it. You are taking the balance out of the equation. So when you're holding a free weight and you're just performing that movement, you have to balance. And that's,
right.
kind of one of the benefits of using the free weight is the balance. So, if there was a preference, then I would say let do a free weight. And a lot of people don't like to put the barbell on their back. When you're first starting out, it doesn't feel good. Everything feels kind of icky. You're afraid of hurting yourself or something, but you just keep doing it, and those feelings of uncomfortableness go away as you get used to doing that. Now, you don't
Right.
have to use the barbell. You can hold a dumbbell in front of you and you can do squats that way. You can use the leg press. You can use the hack squat machine. You can use the Smith machine as well, but those machines take the balance out of the equation.
Yeah.
And so if balance is something that you're concerned with, you may have to add in some exercises that specifically work on balance. But yeah, those machines are fine as well. I do have several clients that I have them use the leg press or a hack squat or something like that because they have certain limitations.
Right.
So I have an 80-year-old female client. She's obviously not going to be able to do a barbell back squat.
Right.
She,
Right.
she has issues, and so something like a leg press is perfectly fine,
Yeah.
or a weighted vest where she's sitting up from a bench or a box,
Right.
standing up, not sitting up,
Right.
but something like that for her. Yeah. So for the most part, most people, you can do a barbell back squat. It sucks at first, but it gets better. But if you don't have to do that, you can certainly use a leg press. And then the other machines, you have bench press type looking machines, you have overhead press type looking machines, you have all of this stuff. That stuff's perfectly fine too. So remember, we are concerned with fighting against gravity, pushing an external resistance against gravity, and those things all fit the bill,
Yeah.
right? So
I've never
again,
I've I've never actually used the Smith machine,
yeah.
but but I can attest to when I started lifting with you, is that just the number of, I mean, you can't count them, but just the number of corrections and movements just starting in your ankles and feet just to balance the bar. That was a huge part for me. I mean, I got
Hmm.
amazing me. I've got toothpick legs kind of. And so amazingly, my lower calves got stronger and bigger
Hmm.
just from doing free weights like that.
Yeah, no calf extensions required.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's one of the benefits to the compound exercises. So you take the squat where you're bending over at the hip, you're bending at the knee, you're bending at the ankle, and you are holding this weight with your trunk musculature isometrically, we might add. So your upper body is an isometric contraction. But when we're doing it that way, we are replacing calf raises, leg extension, leg curls, um, a good morning, or
Mm,
some people might do what's called a reverse hyper. Um, you're replacing dumbbell type shoulder exercises. And so, you're looking at least 5 exercises that you would have to do individually
right.
to make up for what you can do with a squat.
Right. Right.
And so that's kind of like this return on investment. What is the biggest return on investment? How do I maximize the amount of time that I'm getting in the gym without spending hours and hours there? And that's by doing something like a squat and a deadlift and an overhead press. And the bench press fits in there as well. But I think the overhead press probably is a better exercise for most people than the bench press.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah. So I like that you have talked about your journey and your health a little bit, and we've kind of talked about preventing sarcopenia and osteopenia, and we might talk about strength training increases your muscle mass, it increases your bone density, and having a good proportion of both of those things helps when you get injured and you have to go to the hospital. And so a lot of times when people go to the hospital, you're confined to the bed and you're not really being fed the best nutrition that you possibly could. And we have what is called wasting, right? Which is
Yes.
basically sarcopenia and osteopenia happening. And so I know that you have some experience being in the hospital
Mm, mm, mm,
for
mm.
an extended period. Yeah. And so I just want to ask, do you think having that base of strength and muscle mass and bone density helped you during your recovery?
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm just going to throw out also, so to the viewer, whoever's you guys that are watching, you could just say, "Oh, that's just his opinion" or anything. But I mean, I'd be glad to give you the phone number. Well, I can't give you. Okay, my wife wouldn't like you to give you her phone number, but with Coach Lambie as my co-witness, my wife is a medical professional and has worked in ER and trauma for a long, long time, and she can attest to this. So just I'll make the story super short, which I know Coach Lambie thinks that's impossible. But so we had done a lot of working out. I mean, we were really on a sharp incline to gain as much strength in as short a time as I could without being just crazy, because we wanted to do this like this mud run thing.
Mhm.
And in the mud run, just a freak accident, and um, it doesn't matter. Just the bottom line is I snapped my tibia and fibula about 6 inches above my ankle, and just snapped them both in half. And with an external, it was external, and what that means is the bone's sticking out. But
The
anyway,
bone
point.
the bone was sticking out.
I reached down and I grabbed my tibia with my hand, and I had gloves on, so I grabbed it, controlled bleeding, and the other hand, my foot's dangling, and I grabbed that puppy and hung onto it, and I locked all that down. Um, Long story short, then, and it was just a freak accident, just a freak accident. Long story short, then though, is I spent 18 days in the hospital and I had 4 surgeries. Um, I have a titanium rod in my tibia now, so I can actually be called Iron Man.
Hmm.
And however, the point of this whole story is that had I not been in the best physical condition in my life, then it would have been a much, much more difficult recovery. Um, so I was back to lifting. That was like I was back to lifting probably in about, I don't know, Dustin, you say about 3 months maybe.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
So that was October. So at the end of towards the end of October, November, December, end of January, 1st of February, uh, I was back in the gym. Yeah, now there wasn't a whole lot I could do because I mean I'd been on crutches and so forth and so forth. But we started back light, and I could feel that my strength was still there, but more than anything, we were paying close attention to like pain. What what was my range of motion with the leg that I could stand? And I would say probably by my 4th to 5th month, I mean, we were still being careful, but I was lifting, I'd say 80% of my PR.
Hmm.
And so, had I not been there, though, that recovery time in regards to wasting would have been, well,
Much worse.
severe, severe.
Hmm.
I'll just say severe.
Hmm.
So let's just use some random numbers to like describe this. So if I was a 3 on a scale to 10 of 1 to 10, of 0 to 10, and I'm in the hospital wasting, then I'm going to come out of there like at 1 to 1
Hmm.
and a half. Where I was like at an 8 on the scale of 0 to 10, and my wasting, and I came out of there like at maybe a 7, because that the wasting was not the it
Hmm.
would not have been as severe. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Not only that, but also in my cardiac health. So I was stronger. I bounced back from the surgeries faster.
Hmm.
Just being in that peak condition and being in that strength uh, position, it just helped everything better. Just and from I can say this from authority, and people are going, you're just crazy, man. Shave the beard. But in my past, before I was into strength training, then I've been in car accidents before that the recovery was much longer. Um, I'm just not a bad driver, but they just happened. And so I'd be in a car accident and I'd be laid up longer, and it was just a much much tougher road to recovery. And that
Hmm.
was my wife and I both were like, if you had not been in that shape, the story would have been completely different, completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, having the strength, having that muscle mass, having that bone density, it really, really helps with recovery from large injuries like that.
Yeah.
You have your experience. Go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, and somebody may say, okay, well, if all this strength training is helping your bone density, how'd you snap your leg?
Yeah.
Well, you
Well,
just got
yeah. It's
you just
still a
got
bone.
yeah, it's still a bone. And just
Yeah.
think of it. You could take the strongest tree limb that you can't snap over your leg, or you can swing it at another tree,
Hmm.
and that tree limb's not going to snap in half. But however, if you put it in the crook of a tree like that, and you get it hooked just right, it's going to snap. It's just going to breaks, regardless of
Yeah.
the density. But that was again, it was a freak accident, and could have happened to anybody. Could have happened to
Yeah.
anybody. So that was not a factor in the break, but the strength was a factor in my health and my
The
recovery.
recovery. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And the strength training made you feel physically, you were physically prepared and capable to do that obstacle course race,
Oh, I was
and
stoked. Yeah,
there's no one else your age who would
that's
run
right.
that thing,
That's right.
you know? Yeah.
I was stoked. I was looking forward to it. So yeah, just a freak accident, guys.
Yep. Yeah, but the strength and everything being there helped with the recovery. Um, it helped my recovery too. So I've had a hernia surgery, and coming back from that, that would keep a lot of guys out of work for a week or so. And I had my surgery on Friday, and I went back to work on Monday. And we were back to lifting. It started out back at zero, right? So
Right, right.
stuff happens, and you got to start out at zero again. But yeah, we're back to lifting within 10 days. And my surgeon he was very impressed with everything. He said, "Yeah, this is great. I wish everybody would be doing this stuff." So,
That recovery time though, from
mhm.
when you and not even the fact that you went back to work like 2 or 3 days, 2 days later, but the recovery time from starting back at zero to getting back to where you were was
Mhm.
way less
Oh yeah,
than your initial journey.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's amazing.
if I hadn't had that base of strength and physical ability to recover from that quickly, the whole process would be much more drawn out. I know
Yep.
another coach who he had to have rotator cuff surgery. And so he's been documenting his process on Facebook. Go check him out, Philip. Oh shoot, what's his name? Philip Pape, Wits and Weights. He's been documenting his recovery on Facebook, and I think YouTube. So and his recovery is going quickly too. So he posted something this morning where he kind of has a barbell held to some straps, and that's held in the rack. So like this rack behind me. So if you held straps from the bar there and suspended a barbell across it, and then he just walks out, and as he walks out, that barbell lifts his arm up, and
Wow.
so he's been showing the increase in the range of motion just since he's been cleared, which I think has just been about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less. So just since he's been cleared to actually use that arm again by the surgeon, like the range of motion increase has been phenomenal. And so had he have not been resistance training and having the strength and everything that he had before, he probably would not be seeing the recovery that he has. And so he's back doing it. He has a this strap that he puts across his shoulders, and that's how he deadlifts. Keeps the pressure off of his shoulder while it's recovering. So phenomenal stuff.
That's clever. That's clever stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So recovery is a big deal. Strength is the basis of all human movements. And as we're talking about these things that really, really impact our lives, like having an injury, having an illness, having to go to the hospital, having to recover from all of these things, as we age, we start to lose our independence. And a lot of the issues that people have don't come from not being flexible enough or not having enough aerobic capacity. It comes because you're not strong enough, right? You're not strong enough to get yourself up off the toilet. So now you need people to come and help you. You're
In
not,
my in my
yeah.
mind, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got to say this before I forget it. In my mind, and I saw this in my parents, is they didn't exercise, they weren't big in any strength training, they were just living life, and they got weaker. They became more prone to sickness, and there, especially I saw this in my mom and eventually in my dad too, is a fear. So they
Mm-hmm.
began to fear doing things because they were afraid um, that they couldn't stand up to it. So they wouldn't walk very far because they were afraid that they'd get too tired or fall,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were afraid, well, I won't be able to get up, and that was not just physically, so it became a mental thing for them as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so strength training it's not just about getting big or it's a mental, for me even, it was a
Yeah.
mental place. When I
Yeah.
walked away from working out, like we worked out 3 times a week in the gym at Coach Lambie's place. I would walk away from there feeling strong and
Hmm.
not so worn out. I mean, I would drive home, and by the time I got home, yeah, I was a little bit tired, but man, I felt jacked, and there was nothing I couldn't. So my son calls me, "Hey, Dad, can you pick this up?" Yeah, boom. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, "Thanks, Dad." I was like, "You need to work out, man. What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about, just being confident to be able to do daily activities. And again, being able to help somebody lift something, move furniture, um, vacuum the house, So I know she probably might not want me talking about it too much, but this experience happens with my mom as well. So my mom uh, had an injury in her neck. She ended up having to have surgery, and she her health really went downhill for a little while, and she'll tell you that there was a point where she couldn't even brush her own hair. Um, and she got to a point of rehabilitation with physical therapists where everybody just kind of said like, this may just be the best, that you get. This is where you are for the rest of your life. And so I introduced her to barbells. I bought her a barbell and I bought her some little micro plates and I bought her some lifting shoes and we got her started. And now like she is doing all the things that everybody said, her doctors and her physical therapist and everybody else said that she would never do again. And it's the stuff that she loves, which is hiking and camping and kayaking, and doing all that stuff. I moved back in with her for a short period, and this is before we were doing barbell training and stuff, but she was working full time and it was just too much for her to work full time and try to take care of like the lawn and the pool and try to do normal house chores. All of that stuff was just too much for her. And so having built up her strength, not her aerobic capacity, not her flexibility, not her mobility, none of that stuff, just building her strength back up has allowed her to get past those limitations and regain all that independence that she had and she wanted. And so you can see the difference in people who are strong as well. Maybe they
Right.
don't work out, but they just, are genetically gifted to have more muscle mass than the average person. And you can see people as they age, in the way that they walk, the way they sit, the way that they get up from something, the way they move. You can tell a difference in people. There's just a more fluidity in the motion when people have a little bit more strength to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I don't know how much more there is to talk about on this topic. So let's see. Let's recap it. So you've decided you're going to get healthy. You decided you're going to start working out. You're not really sure what you're going to do, and you listen to this podcast. So what are you going to do? You're going to get your gym membership, or which I highly recommend, save your pennies up and get you some equipment for a home gym because it saves a whole bunch of heartache.
Yep.
But
Yep.
get you a membership to a gym, get in there, and start lifting some weights, right? And if you're afraid of the dumbbells and you're afraid of the squat racks and the barbells and all that stuff, you can start with the machines. All of that's fine, but you need to push against an external resistance. So if we were to define what strength is the ability to produce force against an external resistance. And force is in the physics sense, which is work, and work equals force times distance over time. All right. So that's what strength is. So get in there, start doing that stuff, do the big compound movements. All right. So if you want to do the leg press, get on the leg press, get on the bench press machine, do some overhead presses. You can do those with dumbbells as well. I prefer to do them standing up because again, if you're holding a weight up over your head, your entire skeleton is loaded. So
Right.
you're increasing your bone density through your whole skeleton. All right.
Right. Do you want to encourage also some aerobic exercise as well as some of the new isometric things you were talking
Yeah,
about?
certainly people need to do some aerobic exercise. So how much of that should you do? If resistance training is going to be your primary modality, then I think half the amount of time that you spend resistance training can go to aerobic training. So if you train resistance training for 1 hour, 3 times a week, then you can do an hour and a half of cardio, right? And split that up so that hour and a half would be cumulative over the week. So you split it up into several sessions,
Right,
right? And how hard does that cardio need to be? You should be able to hold a conversation the entire time.
right.
Not as easily as we are doing here today. There's going to be a little bit of huffing and puffing, but you should be able to speak full sentences, but you can't sing. You couldn't sing your favorite song, right?
Right.
So that's the extent of that. Now, if you choose to do something else as your primary modality, so you want to do the boot camp stuff or whatever, then the resistance training would be, I would say, no less than twice a week, and just do the bigger movements. Just you could go in and you could squat and deadlift on one day, and you could do bench press, overhead press on the other day, and that's it for the week.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Okay, so I hope somebody got something out of this. I hope it helps. And I want to thank everybody. Oh man, I forgot to do it again this week too. Consuelo Health, right there behind Dwayne. Get online, check it out. Give Kathy a call for all of your health needs, for all your telehealth needs, and she will get you squared away. And shoot, I lost my train of thought.
If you were to thank somebody else or
Oh, yes. So thank you. So we have the sodium podcast drop today. So we have two episodes out right now, and we have, last time I looked, it was 29 downloads, which
good deal.
I am impressed with. So I thought we would be, I didn't even think we would be seeing double digits right now. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and getting the video out there is harder than I thought, but you're listening on audio. I'm going to work on getting the video out there. I thought that my hosting service did that for me automatically, but turns out they don't. So we are dealing with technology issues here. But thank you to everyone who is listening. We hope to keep putting out content that you guys are interested in, and of course, let us know what you want to hear about or talk about, or if you want to be a guest on the podcast. You got anything else, Dwayne?
I think we covered a lot today. I thought it was all good stuff. It's always good stuff, but this is like, this is real. This is
Yeah,
just real stuff. This is the mechanics of like getting into it and doing something. And excellent. I think it's excellent today. Just really
yeah,
great job.
yeah. Just a good talk, not too sciencey, not anything you have to look at on the screen. So, all right. Well, thank you to everyone. Hope this helps, and we will see you guys next time.
See you
Landy
later.
out.
See you later.
Oh, how do I stop the recording?